Lab 3 was quite a step up, so I'm going to go over this. Um, Actually, I realized that back when I taught this before, I hadn't quite finished this one, so I think we finished it in class, but I didn't have any written records of it. So what I'm going to do is take the stuff that I've done already and show it to you, and then complete the entire lab. So this will be the way you get your feedback. Um, for the class that I'm recording. I might use this in the future, so this might not pertain to people in the future. But for this lab, this is the way everyone will get their feedback for the most part. You might get a little bit each one, but as I grade it. But I wanted everybody to see how to go about this. So we're starting with part A. See if I can cut the us out. Basically, you knows, tongue clicks. These are my goals today. I'm not going to edit to get it all out. Maybe I should, but I'm not a producer. I'm just going to try to get this done instrument just demonstrate it to you. So part A was mainly about getting the I did it again, to get the diagram. So what you need when you're making these queries, especially when you do joins, but this is the introduction to joins pretty much. I don't know if pretty much is better than basically, but it's better than saying basically all the time. I tongue click. I swear it's so hard. This is an introduction to joins. So when you're doing joins, you need to have some kind of map, either mentally or on paper or both. Combination. It depends on whether you're familiar with the area of tables you're working with and how they're related. If you are, sometimes you don't need the picture, but you probably always start with the picture somehow or another. So anyway, in order to do like a lot of these queries, like you would need to have some idea of how the tables relate to each other, which ones have the foreign keys, which ones have the primary keys, etc. So that's the purpose of this first part. So download the instruction file. If you notice, it says all responses to all questions must be added to this document to earn points. If you didn't do it that way, either now or in the future, I'll probably change this. I actually like the scripts better, I think, and I might take this first part out just so you need to do it, but that you don't necessarily have to show it because it's easier to paste into a Word document, right? But I'm really more interested in the queries and the output from the queries. So that might change in the future. And if you've already turned this in, either now, in the past, in the future, and it's not got everything in the Word document, that's okay. But if you notice, that is what the instructions were. Those are the instructions. And that was worth 2 points. I can't entirely cut about. So I think at this point I would just show you what my map looks like. I've already made a video. I'm not going to do it again where I show you how to generate a schema. If you generated a schema from SQL Developer, that'd be perfectly fine. So you didn't have to actually draw it out. I had one so far I've seen it was drawn out. It was really nice. But this is what it would look like. So some of the things to notice about this is this called earned rating. I don't know if I like that name. There's probably a better name you can make up. So by default, I go on and on about join tables. I really like them. Bridge tables. What's the junction tables? Associative entities, whatever you want to call them. I really like the way they work for some reason. Something I fixate on for whatever reason. Sometimes you can make really good names for them. For example, if you have a many relationship, this is what I use a lot between movies and actors, then role would be a good name for that. If you have a many relationship between students and courses, because students can take many courses and courses have many students in them, right? You can call that an enrollment. The default, if you don't have a good name, is a combination of the two tables you're joining, their name. So it would be employee rating was what this would be called. So they changed it slightly to earned rating. That's fine. I guess the idea is that you earn the rating on a certain date, right? So this employee earned this rating on this date. Is to see what's going on here. The long and short of this is that you do need to make sure you have this involved when you do joins about ratings and employees. And I think on number 1, some people missed that they needed to include both of these tables. All right. And it looks like in this organization, employees can be both crew and pilot. I'm not sure if how much they cross over. There's a way to represent that you learned in what is it called? 1303, the first database class. It's a prerequisite that you should have had. There's a way to talk about whether the sets or what's the terminology. I don't think about this a whole lot myself. I had to learn it for class. I mean, I'd learned it before, but it's not something I think about all the time when I'm working with databases, even like on the job. But there's just disjoint, right? Disjoint would be where you have employees and you have subtypes of employees like crew and pilot, and the question is whether they're disjoint or not. If they're disjoint, they don't there's no pilots who are crew. For example, there's a complete division in those categories. I think to my mind, it makes sense that a crew of an airplane would include the pilot, or the pilot would actually be a subcategory of crew in a way, a specialization of crew. But the way I've got it here is that you have, what is this? It's a one-to-one relationship. I don't like this. I wish it looked more like a, what you call it? Crow's foot, but it's kind of halfway crow's foot. I'm not sure what the relationship on this side is, but it looks like one-to-one. So an employee, looks like several employees could be pilots. Anyway, we'll come back to that. So, yeah, employees could be a part of a crew is going to have several employees in it, right? Oh, I see what it is. And then you have one pilot probably per charter. There's some relationship there. And so here's the charter. A charter will have many crew, possibly many crew in it, and there will be possibly many customers that sign up for that charter. And then you have an aircraft. So this is what you would call, actually, this is a ternary relationship right here. So this is how a ternary relationship would look. Let me make sure about this. I'm thinking it's a ternary relationship. Let's figure it out. So if you didn't have this junction table of these three things, you would just have a many-to-many relationship among these three things all at once, though. So you would say that a customer charters I guess a customer would charter a flight on a certain aircraft that has a certain crew on it. Those three things all have to be involved in the relationship for it to be the relationship, right? So you can see how it's almost already an associative entity almost from the beginning before you even think about it. But so a customer can charter many flights, aircraft can be on many charters, and a crew you would have many different employees as crew on the charter for that on that flight. So a customer will charter a flight on a certain aircraft that has certain members of the employees as crew on that flight. All right. Kind of want to say this is many to many too. These arrows are confusing me because a crew would be, well, the crew itself wouldn't be. You'd have different employees on different crews. Anyway, we'll just go, because all we really need to know is, hey, it's mapped this way, obviously, in SQL Developer, whatever the rationale behind how they decide to do it. And we just have to use this mapping in order to do our joins. All right, last thing, a certain model of aircraft. So I guess you could have like several different, I don't know, Gulfstreams. That's just off the top of my head. I don't really know. Airplane types. There's the one that kept crashing recently that they had to go back to the drawing board on. There's several different instances of that aircraft. So the specific aircraft, if you compare it to cars, right? You got Mazda Miata. There's the one that I own. There's the one my neighbor owns. That's this. At that level, that's what this is. And this is just like, this is going to be the list of different car makes, right? Or models. It says model here. So maker, of course, is the company. and the model's the specific car. So Ford can have Explorer and Mustang. Those are the different models that Ford makes. You could, I guess you could have make out here if you wanted to include it. So Airbus, and what's the other one? Airbus is the Boeing. I was gonna say Airbus is the in my mind is the Pepsi Cola to Boeing's Coca-Cola, but I don't know if that's accurate or not. I feel like Airbus is more European-y, maybe. I don't know. And Boeing is more US. I may be wrong on that. Again, I'm not an aviation expert, so. And you don't need to be either real. I mean, it helps a little bit if you kind of understand what the being rated to do certain flights means. It helps you construct the queries, I think. But anyway, I'm gonna put that aside for now. So you need something like that in order to get started. Either that actual picture or like a sort of mental map of. I mean, you need to know the exact names in the tables, right, in order to have a hope of doing some of these queries. But so the first part is all about how there's the old style. In my mind, these are roughly speaking, SQL 86 syntax to me means equijoins. And then SQL 92 syntax means that something called inner and outer joins were added to, and it made it easier to do. As you see, the outer joins, which I never even seen anything. I don't even remember doing outer joins that were equijoins, because equijoins by definition can't be outer joins for what an outer join is. But Oracle has its special syntax, and from what I've seen of the ones I've graded, you guys picked up on that. I think I did cover it briefly in the lecture for this chapter, but if it's still unclear, we'll go over it. All right, so let's see where we're at. I need to stop breathing so much too, and I guess just start with the first one. So in the way a way I recommend doing this, I've got some of these already, but I recommend writing the query here first and then copying over to one big script that you run all at once. It says you need to like submit this in the Word document. Even if you did that, you could have just pasted all this at the end. Some people did both, kind of mixed it together. That's whatever you do. So again, I recommend like getting the query to work in one window, and then when it's it's working correctly, copying it over to the script you're building. So let's see what this is like the answer to the first one. I think it's right. So let's look and see what the question is and see if we can figure out how to construct it. Maybe I'll do it in real time. If not, I can cheat on the first couple. So display the employee number. So here's what you want to go about doing. You need the employee number, right? So the employee number is going to show up in several different ones. I kind of like look for the main table for that thing though. So if you notice, because it's going to be a foreign key in lots of things, you can get it from different places. So the earned rating is the employee number. But I like to go to where it's a primary key. So it's a primary and foreign key here. Why? Because this is a junction table. So a junction table typically will have a primary key that's a composite key made up of foreign keys, 2 or more foreign keys from the different tables that are involved. So this imp num and rating code together are a primary key here, but each part of that is a foreign key from another table. So I look for where it's the primary key first and figure that that's going to be involved. That table is going to be involved. Technically speaking, because it's just imp num, we can get that value, that piece of data from foreign keys as well. But more than likely, they're going to want to know things like the name. Right, so they do. We need to know the employee's title, last name, and first name. All those things from normalization rules. If you consider properly normalized database, I'm going to say this one is, if not perfectly normalized, is somewhat normalized at least. So you can expect those things to be in an employee table, right? Title, last name, first name. So we definitely need to include the employee table. We need the pilot license and pilot ratings. Pilot license and pilot ratings. Pilot license and pilot ratings. So let's look. There's a pilot. Pilot license is in the pilot table. It shouldn't be anywhere else. If it is anywhere else, then this is probably wrong. So let's look. I don't see pilot licenses anywhere. else. And there was the other one, pilot ratings. Pilot ratings. So how are these? So I think ratings in the aviation context means what are they licensed to fly. So the license will include ratings. It's kind of the idea, I think. So in order to know that the pilot has got the rating, you have to have this, and they are employees. So what is it again? Display the employee number, employee title, employee last name, employee first name, pilot license, and pilot. So who are pilots? So it's going to be only where you have a join between these. So it's going to be the employee number, where you're only going to include these things, whereas you're not going to include the crew. You're only going to use include the pilots. So you need the pilot's title, last name, first name, right? And that's in this table, because this is like a sub-table of that table, is the way to think of it. You need their license, and you need their ratings, pilot ratings. Now, there's two different ways to do this. You can look and see what it says for ratings here. Now, it says ratings. Technically speaking, let's look at this table here in a second. I'm just going to do I think there are a couple different, if I remember right from when I've done this before, I accepted a couple of different right answers for this. In my mind, you should be listing these things, the rating names. So if you notice, pilots are employees, and employees can have ratings. These are the ratings I want. So the license should be one thing. This is their license. This means they can fly. And then again, I don't think I finished this thought, but ratings are the specific kinds of flying they can do, the specific kind of piloting. So every pilot with you need to have a license to fly, it's my understanding. And we'll look and see what the data looks like on that. But in addition to that, you'll have ratings that tell you what kind of flying you can do, whether at night, instrument only, kind of that kind of stuff. So let's pause. Do we want to pause? I don't think we need to pause. I think I can do this. It's just pilot. Let's just see what's in the pilot table, if that's the name of it. So you'll see what I mean here, and you'll see why there might have been a couple of different right answers to this. It depends on your interpretation. So select star from pilot. So just to get started, I often just do something like this. I just do a select star and see what my output is to get started. Let's clear all this out so I can do a fresh one, because sometimes I don't know where it begins and ends. So, okay, so this is what I'm talking about. I remember ranting about this when I had this class on campus, so you guys get to hear it a little bit too. All right. License. So there's a couple different, I'm going to say this is like Certiport or something. I don't know. I have no idea. If you guys know, if you know aviation, maybe these are different licensing agencies, or maybe, I don't even know. I'm talking out of my butt. So let's actually look this up. I'm going to imagine that's what it is, though. They're licensed by this authority or that authority. Let me look, Google, while I'm Googling it, I'll pause. If I can find the pause button, it gets hidden from me sometimes. Okay, here's a quick Google. ATP is airline transport pilot. I can't find COM. I don't know what that may. I want to say it's like commercial or something, but like I think the ATP would include that. So, who knows? You're about to hear a barking dog, by the way. Probably. So let's just we don't actually need to know that to answer. If somebody wants to chime in, like a discussion forum, maybe I should make one for this kind of stuff. Yeah, we'll see. But I'm going to treat it as just like authorities that you can be rated by for a license. Now, then the ratings, this is what I hate right here. So you see how it's pile ratings. I don't know if this is on purpose. I can't remember if this comes from the book or not, but we don't like this. Why don't we like this? Anybody want to tell us why? I think if you look this up, you'll get arguments about it. There's something called repeating groups that are not necessarily a violation of normal form in the way it was originally explained by COD. I don't want to chat with you at the Epic Flight Academy. It's not like I'm, wanting to fly into buildings or something. I mean, that's what you guys are good for, apparently. I shouldn't have said that. That's fine, whatever. Uh, okay. Or I made that. Has it been long enough? I think it has. Some of you people listening to this were babies when that happened. But anyway, let's get back on track. So, what do we don't like about it? It's not repeating groups, by the way. Repeating groups, in my mind, in the way it's which again might be inaccurate mathematically from the original. Repeating groups are some more obscure relational thing, actually, technically, by the guy Cod is his name, who wrote the original proposal for relational databases. If you look it up, I just recently saw this, but in my mind, a repeating group is this kind of thing, which I'm about to say. You would have pilot rating 1, pilot rating 2, pilot rating 3, pilot rating 4, pilot rating 5, and then in each one you would have ATP for pilot rating 1, maybe an SEL for pilot rating 2, and then for pilot rating 3 you would have MEL maybe. Maybe you have a certain order to it, I don't know. The question is, how many pilot rating X's do you have? You shouldn't do it that way, at least in my opinion. I mean, it might be the case where the entity always has two things that are similar, like skill 1 and skill 2, and never more or never less. In that case, it might be okay, but typically it's the wrong answer. The similar thing would be like foreign languages spoken. So foreign language 1, foreign language 2, foreign language 3, right? That's a repeating group in my mind. Again, that's not necessarily the strict formal meaning that COD originally used, but it's generally considered, even though it's not necessarily strictly speaking a violation of first normal form, it kind of is in spirit. So the other is what this one actually is, which is this is a multi-valued attribute. So you kind of just have, instead of having one value here, you have multiple values. You could argue that it is just one value because having these 5 things is a value and then having these 4 is a different value, but that's kind of also violating the spirit, but even more of the spirit than repeating groups, in my opinion. So the other example I was comparing it to was foreign languages. So you would say French, comma, German, comma, Italian, and the next person has French, comma, Chinese. You know, it's sloppy because it's hard to parse all that stuff out when you're doing queries. So I don't like this table because of this column. It's kind of gross to me. You should have a pilot ratings table, and then you would have, and you do kind of, I think, if we'll look at it here in a second, but then you would have a bridge table between them, a junction table, showing which license, because again, these are individual employees, these are individual pilots, so you would have which pilot earned which rating instead of having all the ratings that pilots earned listed here. So apparently this place has 5 pilots right now, and this is showing for each one a list of ratings that they have. I don't know what these dates are, I forget, but not sure. Okay, so let's do earn rating. No, let's not do earn rating. Let's do rating and see what it looks like. All right, so see, these are somewhat different in my mind from what we just saw. So those were different rating. They're not exact. I don't think they overlap with this list, but this is showing that they can do like instrument at night. I don't know what multi-engine land means, like seaplanes landing a multi-engine plane on land, maybe. I don't know. It's time for him to WALK is what the deal is. At some point, he's going to hear WALK and know what that means, because it keeps coming up around this time when I'm talking to humans. So I might have to pause in the middle of this and come back and finish it. But you can see this is different. So in my mind, these were the things that we were looking for. All right, somebody else is going to do the walk. No, you wouldn't know the difference if I just edited it, but it's the magic of editing, right? Okay, let's get back on track. So in my mind, this question involves these ratings, not those other ones. But if you had used those other ones, I wouldn't have counted it wrong. So let's build the query now. So if it's these ratings, here's what we know. Let's go back and look at the picture. There we go. Here's the picture. If it's these ratings, then we have to involve this table, this table and this table at least. I think it might be more than those three, might be, oh, and then we have to, because the license is involved, this is the only place this occurs, so it has to involve this table. So in my mind, the most correct answer, in my opinion, was the one that included these 4 tables. So a lot of people would have, I think they have one that had just, I forget which 2 tables. Can't remember which 2 tables. Maybe these 2. I don't know. But in my opinion, you need to have all 4 of these tables to get what's asked for in the query. So let's build it as we go. Again, I have the answer. I can always refer to that. But the way I would build it is from, let's start with employee. And I always like aliases because they help me type things out. So if it's 87, 82, whatever the date is, the older kind, if it's an equijoin type, you do commas between the tables. So we know it's going to be employee, and it's going to be pilot, and it's going to be earned rating. I wish it would let me just hit tab or something, because tab doesn't work, so it just tabs over. I don't want to have to, like, with my pinky figure out where the arrow down is. That's annoying. It's almost like worthless to me that way. I'm not that much of a typist. So we want these tables, and then if it's equijoin type, the old-fashioned kind, it's going to be where these things have. So the primary key of the employee table, I'm sorry, I think I've got the wrong table here. Let me see what it is. Is it via employee, maybe? Always make sure you got the right names for your tables, especially when they're mixed together. Via employee, that's why I'm having trouble. There's an employees table and an via employee table, but there's no employee table. So now, in my mind, this is really just employee, so that's why I just use E, because that's the way, obviously that's the way I think about it, right? You just saw that's how I think about it. So whatever helps you conceptually is the way really you want to do it. So let's do the pilot table first. So it's P dot num. So we want where those 2 things are equal. And if you want, I mean, it depends, like you might want to just like see what you got so far, right? As long as you don't refer to the things in the other tables, then you don't need to include them. But let's see, what will it actually give you? It's way too many results. So this is actually not helpful. Never mind. To be somewhat helpful, you would have left these out, I guess. It must be returning everything from all those tables, because it's returning it right. It's doing a cross join because I don't include the where. That was kind of naive of me. So, all right. So where those things are connected that way, and you just kind of look for the different connections. What you should come up with are 3 equalities between foreign keys and primary keys. Why 3? Because there's 4 tables. So think fence posts. The tables are the fence posts, and the equijoins are like the slats in between. That's how I remember it. Well, how I think about it. I didn't understand. I wasn't talking to you, Google. So just from that point, though, you just want to see how the things relate to each other and make them relate. So we know we got the employee in the temp table. Now we need to do the fence slat between the employee post and the earned rating post. It needs to be done now. So I'm going to do it that way. Next. Sorry, I'm thinking. I'm sort of like not knowing what I'm talking about because I'm thinking at the same time. It's harder than you think to do these videos. So that's how those 2 relate. And the last relation, so pilot to employee, employee to earn rating, and then earn rating to rating. So that would be rating code, I think, of some kind. So remember the 2 foreign keys, the earn rating code, where that's equal to the rating code. So the foreign key r dot, what's it not coming up? Is it ratings? Again, this is why you want this map. It's rating. Why is it not coming up? And rating equals R dot, oh, did I leave out the equal sign maybe? I don't know, who knows what I did. Then this should be useful. It just shows you every field, which you don't need, but it should show you only a few fields. It should only show you a few, I'm sorry, records, because you've done all the joins in here. So this is showing, what this is showing is everything about from all those tables about all those people, but only where they join. So to get the things that we want, I usually do all this stuff. This is the hardest part, right? And then you go back and you see what exactly was asked for. So we need the employee number. That can be got. I mean, before I do that, though, I want to talk about this. So what I'm saying is the way this where works in the 89 version, 87, 86. What is it? 86 is that this is the primary key. This is the foreign key. This is the foreign key associated with the primary key. And because these are equalities, you can do these in the opposite order if you want. And this is the rating code earned. So that's the foreign key, and this is the primary key. So it's always going to be a foreign key. If you're doing it in an equi-join, that 86 style, it's always going to be a foreign key, primary key in the equality here. All right, so going back to the rest of this, so I'm just looking to see on the other screen here what I need from this, and I need the employee number. So you can take that from anywhere that it exists. I just try to, in my mind, take it from the main table, the employee table. But you could have also got it from the pilot table, because it is the same. I mean, the whole point is they're equivalent, right? And then the title, this will only come from this table, because if it's correctly normalized, the employee table title will only be in the employee table. So going back to that last thing about the employee number, I try to put everything together then with the table that it comes from. Last name and then first name. Oh, it's first name. It's right here, sorry, F name. And then pilot license, so that's the pilot table. And then probably the rating code. What was it? I lose my track every time I look away. And pilot ratings. So P, comma, R dot ratings. To me, the human being doesn't care about the code. The human being cares about the name of the rating. So that's what I put in for this one. Then when you run this, what you're seeing is that employee number 109, who's Ms. Travis, Elizabeth Travis, has the pilot license and is a certified flight instructor. And that person is also but certified flight instructor with the instrument too. So that's not necessarily multi-value. That's just a specification of this one. In my mind, they should be named something else, maybe. Maybe certified flight instructor without instrument and then with instrument. Seems like that would be. And see, I don't even know what this. I don't understand what these. Again, it's helpful to understand the domain, right, that you're working with. I don't. So I'm just going by what I've got here in this database. Janine Duzak, Mrs. Janine. That's what the title means, by the way. I guess it's that title, not their title in the company. Mrs. Janine Duzak has a pilot license that's COM, whatever COM is, and can in the rating, a rating for multi-engine landing. Because of the nature of the earned rating and all that stuff, you shouldn't have any of these be the same, exactly the same. You should have different data on each of these records. Where is the... Okay, back. In the meantime, now that the dogs are gone for a little bit, I realized you could do ratings here as well. If you would just want to add that, and that way you would kill two birds with one stone. So, you'd still get 21 rows because of the way it works. I mean, if you got 21 with just license, you're going to get 21 with if you add ratings, because there's nothing that limits them any more so between the two. Let's see if this is what I got before. After I did all that, I just want to check to see if this is how I did it before. So let's do this. Where's the little pencil eraser? That's not what I want to do. Whatever. No, it's sorry, whatever. It got stuck because it was asking for a dialogue on the other page, and I didn't see it on the other screen. I mean, so I get 21 answers here. These look similar, except the order's different because I think you have an order by that you were supposed to do as well, which I left out. Does it say that here? Actually, it doesn't say it. Display the employee number, employee title, employee last name, employee first name, pilot license, and pilot ratings for all aviation that are pilots. It doesn't say anything about ordering. So if you didn't do the ordering, that's fine. I didn't. I followed the directions, right? So let's get rid of this and see if we get similar answers. So that's 1A. And then we want to see how to do this with enter. So yeah, this looks similar. All right. Okay, so that's the first one. And now you just have to see how to do that. So what you would do is you would take this and copy it, and then you would take it over to your main, where you do your main script, and you would paste it. I'm not going to pay, because I want to keep the original one I had, so I'm not going to change it. But just in case I did make some mistake I haven't seen yet. But anyway, that's what you would do. You would paste it over here and make sure you have this. This would have been better, like, I don't know why I've got 1A like that. One stands out, though, if it's a number. Whatever, however you do this, as long as I can read it. The less you have here, actually, the better, because I can zero in on it. So the next one is do the same thing, but in the different style. So I got rid of all this. I kind of want it back as a guide. Maybe just for this screen, when you're doing these two, just comment it out so you can use a guide. If you understand what the 86 style is, you can use it as a guide to do the 92 style. So the 92 style, again, is just like using inner joins. So from a via employee, I still like to use aliases always. So E, inner join. And I'm not going to use the using thing, because to me, that's not natural. It's not incorrect. You can use it, but it's not something I do. So I'm going to do it. It's the sub variant of 92, where you actually have on instead of using. So pilot P, and the way that you join those things is on e.enum. E.impnum. Why are you not working with me here? Is equal to p.impnum. I don't know, sometimes it does that even though it's not wrong. Inner join. So you just keep adding inner joins when in the same places you would have like the equals, sort of. If you have more than two tables. So that would be e.impnum is equal to er.impnum, inner join. And probably a better way of doing this than what I've got style-wise. Oh wait, you gotta have your on in here before you do that. So on, wait, inner join. Sorry, I did this wrong so far. Hold on, let's get back on track. So on that inner join, a new table. Earned rating, I think. er on e.impnum. I don't know why the impnum's not coming up here. There's going to be something wrong at the end that I haven't seen yet. Where that's on, where that's equal to impnum. Inner join. not interjoin, but inner join the final table. And I, again, put this maybe some kind of style similar to this, maybe where you put them on different rows. So inner join rating R on. Since I just did R and I know I need to use that, I'm going to do that one first. It's equal to ER dot rating number. Just going to make sure this runs. Nope, there is something wrong. Let's see what it is. All right, when you're following along, you can probably see. So I had this misspelled as Ava instead of Avia, and this was rating code instead of rating num. So you iron those out. The cool thing about these two different styles is that this part should be the same as long as you use the same aliases. Right, that shouldn't change. The projection, I guess you call it, shouldn't change. It's just the way they're joined that's changed. You know you're on the right track if you've got. And again, this is the one that still uses both pilot. What are they called? You know what I'm saying? The pilot last. Oh, no, it's just got the rating. Never mind. It's right. Anyway, you know you're on the right track if they both have the same, and they should in theory. They're just two different ways of doing the same thing. They should both have the same number of records, and then you can kind of cross-reference them and see. Sometimes the order will be different. I think depending on how you join things up, you'll get a different order, but. You know you're on the right track if you get the same number of results for the two. So this looks similar. Let's see. That's the new style. Starts with Travis, Miss Travis Elizabeth, and this is the old style. Again, I select what I want to run and click the play button so it looks similar. And just maybe get these side by side somehow and see if they look the same. So I put the pilot ratings in that old one. That's the difference, but everything else should be the same. All the other columns should be the same. Are they in the same order even? Looks like they are, but you get the idea. All right, that's number one. We have 6 of these to do. So I'm going to pause, collect my thoughts, and continue on number 2. All right, let's start getting set up on this. I think I've got the right 92 answer on this, but it looks like I never did the 86 version, which is weird. Oracle does this weird. So what we're doing on this one, number 2, display the information requested in question 1, but also include all aviation employees, even if they aren't pilots. So again, sort of like my brain's trying to figure out this picture. Still, I'm stuck on it because of the weird. I'm just used to things looking like crow's foot and not being a slight variation. So I'm thinking this is a 1-to-1. I want to say this is so this is a weak entity is what this is, this pilot. So in another comparison would be employee independent. So hard to explain this. So you've got. Notice, yeah, this is a weak entity. The way you can tell this is a weak entity is because the primary key is a foreign key in the other table. I mean, it's a foreign key from another table. So you see how this is, the primary key is employee, imp num. The primary key here is also imp num. That's the whole primary key. If part or all of the primary key of a table is the primary key of another table, then that's what's known as a weak entity. So these junction tables are also weak entities, which means they wouldn't exist if other tables didn't exist. This entity only exists because both rating and employee exist. This table only exists because employee exists. If this table did not exist, this would not exist. So the example that I've given in other cases would be like dependent. And even if you have more than one dependent, what it would be, the primary key would include the employee numbers as a foreign key in it. So it will be, let's say an employee number 1 up here has 3 dependents. The dependents table would be the employee number plus like 1, employee number plus 2, for example, to show that that's dependent 1, 2, and 3. There would be a separate record for each dependent, but you would know who they're dependent of from the part of the primary key that's the foreign key in the other table. Same thing here. You know which one of these guys are pilots because it's the employee number up here, down here as a foreign key. So I don't know if I would do it this way. This is kind of weird to me. I would just have a pilot. I would have a pilot field, I guess, like yes or no Boolean, is this person a pilot? But because they have more information about pilots that you don't have for regular employees, they did separate. It actually kind of makes sense when you think about it, because of all these things down here, extra things that regular employees don't have. You could make it as a sub table kind of. This is again, this is if you go back to 1303, there's in the diagramming you have like the circle and the D, or the, I think it's the U. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it shows how it's a subtype, sub entity. And then if you have more than one sub entity like you have here, you'd say whether they're disjoint or not. It's that kind of relationship that you're seeing. Oh, so that's what's going on there. And this query involves it because we want to see all the employees, even if they're not pilots. So if you try to do naively an inner join between the two, hold on, let me see, display the same information. So here's the thing. It says the same information. We want the same information about the pilots that we had before. We just want to include people who are not pilots. That's not the same as just, if it didn't ask for the same information, I've got this set up to show you how this is wrong. This is a wrong way to do it. Because this only shows us pilots. So that inner join's not going to work. But the problem is we still need some of this data from the pilot table, which I don't have listed up here, like the license and stuff, if it is a pilot. So you can't just do this too. Like I want all the employees, even if they're not pilots. So you can't do just this, because now if the employee E. So you want the same data that you have from the last query, except you want to include people who are not pilots. So if you look at this, there are people who are not pilots in here, but you only know that from memory because you're not talking to the pilot table at all. And you don't have the stuff from the other table like the pilot ratings and pilot license. In order to get those things, you have to at least use the, I'm going to say the pilot table, but also the ratings table like I was showing before. If you do those ratings over there instead of just the ratings in the pilot table, it depends. Your mileage might vary on this question, but this is why I kind of like go into too much detail on these answers, but maybe not. So, just my thinking about, like, if I were doing this and figuring it out, this is what I had to figure out. What I realize is I need everything. Here's the thought, the realization you need to have to know how to go about this. You need to realize that you need everything from the employee table, and then you still need the pilot table. Everything from the employee table tells you that part is, you need an outer join, because you still want everything, even if it doesn't relate. Not every employee is a pilot, so they're not going to have pilot stuff. But when they do have pilot stuff, you need the pilot stuff. So that tells me that there's going to be nulls for the pilot stuff for some of the employees. Nulls on one side and not on the other. If you want to include everything on the other side, tells me you need an outer join. Now, the syntax for doing this in Oracle is weird. So what I'm going to do is cook up the answer off screen, because I know it's going to be frustrating because I have to remember it, and then I'll show you and explain it. All right, the special syntax that Oracle will use, I think it might be other DBMSs. I never do it this way. That's why I use the 92 version and with outer join and all that. So I'm not sure, but I know Oracle does it this way because it does it. So what you do is you use in the foreign key side, I want to say, of the outer join, depending on which direction you're going. So you want every employee number. And here you got the rating. This is for the earned rating. So you put this plus sign parentheses after the foreign key there. And then in this case, you've got the employee number, pilot. So yeah, if you notice too, you can do this. This is a weird combination like I've got here. You could have used just the imp num here as well. Let's run it, make sure we get the same. We should still get 27. Yeah, there's different ways to connect them up. I prefer this. I don't know why I did it the other way, but so this is, you want to include every employee, but only only make sure that they're the same in the cases where they have the same number. Otherwise, if it's a null on the thing, the side that can have the null is what you want the plus sign on. So when you run this, I'll show you what I mean by this. But the thing is, you'll have every employee, but you won't always have a rating or a pilot thing for them, because not every employee is a pilot. And if they're not a pilot, they're not going to have a rating, and then it just kind of propagates. So you put the plus signs on the sides where you might get no results. Okay, so let's look at the answer again. Let's try it the regular way if I can. Yeah. So what you should see is that you have every employee in here at least once. Now, you can have them several times if they have several ratings that they're rated for. But if they don't have any of these pilot things or rating things, they'll occur precisely once. So Jorge Deontay appears once with nulls. If he had any nulls, he would appear one for each null. In this case, they're together in the way I did this query where I have the pilot license along with the rating. There's a null for each of those. And why they're nulls? Because they're not pilots. So they're not going to have those. They're not going to have entries in those databases. And what it's saying is that I'm going to put every employee at least once, even if they don't have anything in the thing I'm trying to join to. If you change the direction around, then you get, I'm not going to do it right because it'll be confusing, but you could get different results. This is the equivalent of a left outer join between these tables. So you go to the right side and put the plus sign for the left outer join. It's weird. I think I said that right. Double check me. But anyway, this is the 86 style. So let's convert this to, and what you would do, I haven't done this one yet technically, because what I have is not correct here. I just realized I don't have, I have A with, for some reasons. No, I do have this one. But it's actually, what this is this is just an equijoin. It's not got the plus signs in it, so it doesn't work right. So I'm saving that one. And then you can start from here and maybe try to do this with left outer joins. So, or right. It depends on the direction you're going. But I'm going from employee to pilot in most of these cases. So it's going to be probably left that I use just because my brain likes that way. The way I approach this is by default anyway, and it's not always what happens in reality. There'll be reasons why that I can't even really describe to you right now because I can't think of the cases. Maybe it's not always something you have to do, but maybe you just kind of haphazardly fall into it where you need the right outer join, for example. But in my mind, what I try to do is remember, we wanted all the employees, even if they weren't pilots, to appear at least once. That was what the question asked for. Like, include the same data, except also include employees who aren't pilots. So whenever I start setting it up, I always think the thing that I need everything of will be first. So it will be left, because you go left to right. That's how we read, right? Left to right. So it's going to be a left outer join because I start with the thing that you want everything from. And the side that might have nulls, I put on the right. In other words, the thing on the right that might not have things from the left appearing related to it at all. I say at all. That's not what exactly I'm trying to say, but I won't have instances of the thing on the left in the thing in the right. There won't be matches, in other words, on foreign keys and primary keys, because the primary key from the left just doesn't appear at all on the right. That value as a foreign key does not appear sometimes. So that's the whole left to right direction. I just default to left is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to pause and set this one up and I'll show you. All right, here it is done. You get 7 employees who are not pilots at the bottom with this one, and this is what it looks like. And I use this as a guide. I commented it out and used it as a guide. Let's see if this is what I got last time. This has been like a year ago that I did this one. So here, just select this much and run it. It should get similar results, if not the same. So the order is different because I have an order by. I order by the employee number, as you can see. And I don't think it asks to do that. If it does and I'm missing it, whatever. The order by I'm not too concerned about. It's one way of checking it. Just highlight this part. Semicolon actually doesn't. So it looks like the same stuff. Jorge Diante. Again, and this is part of 3. We get into 3 here. It's preview. Anyway, so it looks the same. So what you'll notice is the AV employee is the thing. This is the old version. I should show you the new one I just did, but I want a left outer join from the thing that's going to have everything in it. Again, this is what I'm saying. Every record, every row in this table must appear in the answer. So I put it on the left and then do left outer join. Right? Everything in this will appear once, and you might get null matches over here on the right. So the thing that everything has to appear once on the left outer join, the thing that might get null matches. It'll get matches most of the time, probably, but sometimes it'll get null matches. So six people weren't pilots. Is it 6? Tell me it's 6, because I don't know. Looks like 6. Yeah, there were 6 null matches. That table goes on the right. Now you could reverse the order and say pilot P right outer join AV employee E, and it would be the same thing. I don't want to do it and mess it up just to prove that it's possible. You can mess with it on your own. I'm showing you the answer, so I feel that's enough. Because this stuff's it's complex for me too, so I understand how you would struggle with it, and that's why I'm showing you the answers. But there's different ways you could do some of these too. Obviously, there's right and left, that one variant. And whether you put the foreign key from one, primary key from the other, as long as you got things that match up, sometimes you can change that around a little bit. But so there's a little bit of style to this too, as long as you get the right answer. Is all that matters. So I think that's enough. But notice, like, you've got left outer join kind of propagates through the whole thing. Anytime you have something in the employee table that might not match something in the right table, you need to make sure you get the order right and then do left outer join. So there'll be some imp nums that are not in the earn rating, so left outer join. And there will be some ratings. The ratings are always there, but you'll have some imp nums that don't. You might not actually have to have this last one. It still works out because the left outer join will include things. Let's see. Actually, let's put inner join here. This gets confusing sometimes, but no, you have to have the left outer join there too. So forget I said that. I know you can mix them sometimes. In this particular instance, maybe not, but anyway, you get the idea. So at this point, what you would do is copy. I like this answer better, I think, than what I have, especially the capitalization. So I'm going to copy it over and add it to my script. So again, have a working window and then a final script window. In the end, you run this once and just copy all the output. The only thing that I've left out is maybe put your name as a comment at the top and which lab it is, but you get the idea. So that's number 2. I'm going to start preparing number 3. All right, number 3. So I just noticed this when I brought this up. I've been making rubrics. I'm probably just going to give everybody full credit on this class. You know what I mean when you see it. I'll talk about that separately. But this is where I get the rubric values from. CITC question 3 is worth 5 points. Anyway, I might redesign this later so I can break down the points across the 2 different types, because sometimes people get one type but not the other, 86, not the 92, or vice versa. So I should break that down. It's like so many points each. But so we're going to display the charter date. So sounds like if it's the charter date, it's probably from the charter table. Customer last name, customer first name, customer balance. All that seems like customer table to me. Charter trip identifier, probably charter table. Charter destination, probably charter table, but we have to look and see how it's done exactly. Aircraft number, there's probably aircraft table if I remember correctly. And the aircraft model code for each of us. So model code, I know there's an aircraft model table, I think. It's kind of like a category table, a lookup table. So it looks like 3 or 4 tables. Let's see if we can see how it's all. So you refer back to this diagram. So we got customers and charters. So there's the customer table, there's the charter table. It didn't say anything about crew or pilots, so I think we can cut this part out in our thinking. So charter, customer, the aircraft that they're on, something about the aircraft was in there, and then the model of the aircraft. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 tables again involved probably. And then we're going to limit to only. So we're going to have to throw it. Basically, this is going to show you how to do a where you actually have criteria. You have a criterion that you add, which is only certain balances. And then you sort it. Like the first two, again, I don't think there was a sort. I think, unless I missed it. For some reason, in some of my answers for the first two, I had order bys, but it looks like they weren't needed, but they are needed for this one. So you're adding a couple. What you're doing is you're showing how you're practicing more with just the basic join, but then you're adding other stuff that you do with regular queries, because all those things don't go away just because you're joining. You're also going to add those things onto. So I think, let me see. I'm gonna kind of maybe do this one live, but maybe I'll pause if I run into snags. Again, this is not the easiest thing for me. I don't want to make you guys suffer through me figuring things out sometimes. So I know that charter is going to be involved. So let's just do charter. Make sure it comes up. Charter is a C, customer is a C. How do we want to handle this? I want to make charter CH. This is 86 style first, right? So you kind of easier to get set up because you don't have to decide inner, outer, all that stuff right off. You can just list the tables. So I know charter is involved. I know customer. So it's a via customer. I just wanted to give me a prompt to make sure I'm spelling this right. There we go. I'm just going to call that C for customer. And I know it's aircraft. So I'm going to just type aircraft. Yep, there's aircraft. And I'm going to call that A. And then the aircraft model. Is it just model? I think it is just model. I'll look at the schema again. I'm going to call that M for model. Even if it were aircraft model, I'd still call it M, though. So if you want everything from those two, now if you want everything from those two tables, you get all the permutations. So it's going to be the number of rows times the number of rows times the number of rows times the number of rows in a big Cartesian join if you just run it like this. And it'll, sometimes you want to be careful because it'll just do so many, and then it's like, there's a lot, right? When you multiply 4 things together, you get a lot. So we need to do some kind of equijoins to this. For this one, again, this one's not talking about weird stuff like outer join stuff where you include things that are not included or, whatever. So you could just kind of like look at this and see how they're joined up, how they relate to each other, and just add those as equijoins. I'm going to put this on another screen so I can refer to it. And I'll just kind of say out loud, I recommend if you're watching this because you want the feedback on how to do it right, that you have all this stuff available to you so you can refer to it while I've got on a different screen. So let's do the equijoin stuff. So these are not criteria that we're adding, except the where clauses are criteria to effect the equijoin. So first, let's see how charter and customer join up. It looks like you will have a customer on a certain charter, probably a cus code. So where cusc.cuscode is equal to ch.cuscode. So where the primary key of the customer table is equal to the foreign key that's named that in the charter table. And so again, we have 4, so we need 3 clauses. So we need 2 ands, right? So the slats, again, if you think of the tables as fence posts, then the slats are the equations. So 4 fence posts means 3 equations. And then if you think of the equations, the equijoins as fence posts, then you need 2 ands as slats. so on the fence post logic for how it works. So we're going to do, and what else is connected here? I might need to pause because I think the animals are coming back and they're going to make noise. All right, I got interrupted, so I'm going to go back to where I was. And I was like, do I do this off screen or do it on screen? I think it's straightforward enough to do on screen. So I'm going to start with I should honestly, I feel like the charter is the big connection point here, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to start with it. So I'm going to say, first, we're going to relate. You just want to relate, again, all the different tables together through the way that they relate. So just look at each pair of tables one at a time and relate them together the way that they relate, which is primary key to foreign key. So charter's always foreign key, I think. Way it's set up, it might be, I think it's a primary key when you're talking about the crew, but we're not talking about the crew, so don't worry about that. So yeah, it looks like it's always the foreign key side. So we want to hook up the charter to the customer through the foreign key, which is the cus code. So a certain customer will be on a certain charter, right? So you do the cus code is equal to the primary key of the cus code, which is the cus code in the customer table. So when you kind of like type in the aliases, you get a lot of help on this too. So then you ask how is the charter related to the aircraft? I'm getting a lot of interruptions, so this might be disjointed. So how is the charter related to aircraft? Well, it's a certain aircraft on that charter, on that flight. Think of charter as a flight. All right, so if we start with the charter side, just do charter AC number is the aircraft number. And then how does that relate to the aircraft table? Well, that's equal to the aircraft table's primary key. And then lastly, how do we relate model and aircraft? So we just need the model of the aircraft. So it's going to be and the aircraft's number and AC dot, model. So it's the foreign key. I think it's just called mod. Is it just called mod? Let's see. AC dot where and a dot, I was typing AC, a dot mod code. That's the foreign key is equal to the primary key of the model table mod code. So again, whether it's equijoin, old school 86 style or 92, you can kind of approach it the same way. You just like look at the diagram again. Look at the diagram and see how everything hooks up, how everything joins up, and you just kind of have to state that in your query, like this is how these two tables are related. There's no real magic to it. You just say, okay, well, how do you relate the customer table to the charter table? Well, you see that the customer code, which is the primary key code of the primary key of the customer, appears as a foreign key here. So you say where the charter's cus code is equal to the customer's cus code. That's how you join those two, and so on. So what do we want from this? That's it right there. That's the equijoin. Except we need to add a couple things. Right, let's look at the original. Let me find it. Everything's scattered out. I don't know if you're like me, but everything's scattered. So we need some stuff. We'll do this last. And then we want to limit the results to only customers with a balance greater than 0. That's the customer table. So this is where you add criteria that are not just join things. So so this is still part of the where. And C, the customer's balance, it's greater than 0. And I know there's one more thing that we do, which is I think the last thing is just limit the code of the balance greater. Then we sort. So we just this is the actual only criterion that's not a join criterion. So this is just like, hey, we want join them up and then show us the ones where only the customer balance is greater than 0. Then the last thing you do is order by. Sort the output by charter date and customer name last, then first. So order by charter date, CH, that's in the charter table. So charter date, then by the last name, then by the first name. So there's actually 3 levels of sorting here. So, and if two people have the same last name, then you resort finally to the first name to do the sorting. That's what that means. Then you run this, or don't run it. I mean, you could run it just to make sure the join works and you get some results back. If you should get more than 6, I think. I think that was 2 pages. That's why I like doing this more compact when you do this. It is only 6. Is that right? I have to double check to make sure that's right. Because what are we showing? We're showing, balances. We're only showing where you have the balances. If you take the balances out, let's see what we get. Cut that. Because I feel like there should be more charters than that. More customer. That looks more reasonable. So yeah, it does. I guess that does limit it, adding that balance greater than 0. All right, so that's that. So the last thing to do is just add in this is always the icing on the cake because it's the easiest part, really. You want to make sure everything else is working before you try to add in the projection. Make sure you've got the selection, I think it's the term. Double check me on that. The selection of the records that you want. Do that first. That's the hard part. Then do the projection. That's the easy part. If the join's working correctly, this part won't be hard. So we need the date of the charter. We need the last name of the customer. We need probably the first name of the customer. Yeah. We need the balance of the customer. So I'm assuming this is how much they still owe. The identifier of the charter. Is that the same thing as the charter? I mean, is that the same thing as the... That is the question. Is there something called ID here? Char date, distance, oil, trip. I think this is the ID of the charter. We'd have to look at the table. Let's look at the table and see. Like I said, this is the easiest part, and now I've got like a hitch in it. But let's see. How's the charter table organized? It is char trip as the identifier to me, because I don't see anything else that would serve as an identifier. This is a foreign key, right? So it's not an ID for that table. This is a foreign key, not an ID for this table. This is the only thing that uniquely identifies any charter in this table that I can see. I mean, you could have a primary key that's one thing and then have something else called like an ID that could be a primary key, but it's not chosen to be one. That's what I was kind of thinking because it said ID. But it looks like trip would have to be that. So trip, it says charter trip identifier. So char trip is even hinted at in the question that you're answering. And then the destination, that's obviously a charter. Oh, the aircraft number. So which plane did you ride on this flight? It's going to only be one plane, right? So that's the aircraft number. Then, I mean, you could do this if you wanted. Let's do it table-wise, maybe, like that. No need to do what I just did, but it's a little. I was just about to scroll off, and I wanted it all on one screen. So, aircraft and the model of that aircraft. So that's going to be the model number. And again, I always go to the. Let's see if there's anything else to be the model. I kind of think name should be model. Let's see, aircraft number, aircraft model code of. Yeah, it says aircraft model code, so I'm going to use the mod code instead of the name of the model. I'd rather have the name, honestly, if it were me as a human being, but it's not what it asks for. So if we run this, we can see that on February 5th, Myron Orlando flew to GNV, Gainesville, Florida, maybe, on this particular charter trip on this particular airplane, which is a PA31-350 model. That's the information we're getting. So this guy owes money, and this is the flight that he was on. Like, show me all the customers that owe money and give me an idea of what kind of flight it was, basically. That's what it looks like. The person is asking for. Okay, this is me going back to what I did like a year ago to see how I did it. This is the left. This is, well, you know what? I'm just going to show this. This is how I did it a year ago. I haven't really looked at it. I just want to see if I had the same results. So I did have the same results as I did over here. So far, so good. That makes me pretty confident I did this correctly. Now I have a bunch of inner joins, and that's because it's, again, you're not asking for null stuff. So if you look, it's going to be the same as this one, except you use just different syntax. So you do inner join instead of, so this is charter CH. How does the customer and the charter join up? This part is still the same. It's on the fact that the cuss code from one is the cuss code in the other. Then how you interjoin the aircraft with the model, how do they join up? It's going to be, actually I don't have the model in here, but there it is, AC mod code. Oh yeah, I did actually realize this. It's asked for the mod code, so I'm being stupid on the newest one, this one here. You don't actually need it, right? So I was wrong this whole time. Now you could do it the way I did it, and that's fine, but you didn't need this. Why? Because the mod code. Now if you needed the mod name, the name of the mod, let me show you what I mean. Remember what I was saying? I was complaining about this actually when I did it. I'm like, I kind of want the model name, because like, who cares about the mod code? That's just, now the name could be the code anyway, I guess. It depends. Some people who know the field would know what the code is, you know, like they know other, but anyway, it's a Navajo chieftain is the name of the model instead of the mod code. So in this case, you would need the 4 tables because the mod name only exists in the model table. But since it was asking for the mod code, you could have done this. Let me get rid of the aircraft A. That's the same up here. Instead of mod name, though, you would do from the aircraft table, because the model number, the mod code is a foreign key. You could just do that, right? Does it still run as is? No, I messed something up. Let's see what I messed up. Oh, because you don't need this. So you would take this off. Don't take all that off. Just take this off. Still need the customer ballots. All right, same answers, right? But again, you didn't need all that. And I guess I don't know if I realized that the first time I did it or not, but then you can see. So how do those 2 tables join up? The aircraft and the charter, it's through the aircraft number. So on these 2 things corresponds to here, where you do the charter aircraft number and the aircraft table aircraft number. So this is the 2 answers here. I don't know why I only have 3B from the past, but now I have 3A. So I'm going to cut that actually and paste it over here into my script, and then we'll tackle 4. And again, yeah, I'll let you look at those side by side, but you get the idea. At this point, I feel like maybe you could even like skip forward to like if you just had trouble like on the last one or something, because I think these next few, if you got those 2 down, and even if you didn't understand before, if you understood from 2 and 3, you could probably do, let's see, it's 4. 4's got 2 syntaxes again, so that's telling me this similar thing, but let's read it before I pause. So number 4, display the aircraft number model code. So aircraft table, model table. Well, aircraft table still with model code, but model manufacturer, that includes the model table now, because that's only in the model table. The aircraft TTAF, TTAEL, I don't know what those are. So we'll have to look those up. I think those are probably in the aircraft table, but we'll look. Again, I don't know what that means. All I need to know is that that there's something called that I can figure out from the table. I don't have to know what it means. As a matter of fact, and in jobs where I've worked with databases, I didn't know what the hell I was referring to sometimes. I only need to know how to like give what the people were asking for. So the project managers that I worked for, I didn't know what their stuff meant, but I mean, some of you could figure out into it, but some of the stuff, it was cryptic like this. Like, I don't know what any of this is. So that's in the aircraft table though. So I know I can get those from the aircraft table. That's all I need to know. Let's see what else. Where are we at? This is what I'm reading. So those things, so charter table. This could have been like, you know, just in one of them, but I think it's no. I think it's, well, if you did the crew, you might be able to get it from the crew, but we're not talking about the crew yet. So we do need the charter table for all this. And even if they've not been chartered. So that's telling me that we need an outer join where the thing that's always appears at least once is the aircraft. Because the aircraft, what we're saying is we got aircraft in our hangar. We've chartered a bunch of flights, but maybe there's that new aircraft we haven't used yet, or one that's like people are superstitious about. I don't know what the reason why they wouldn't use one on a charter, but it's possible that the charter company has planes that have never been chartered. So we're including those as well. So you'll get nulls for the trips that they were on, where there's no match of the aircraft in the charter, the aircraft foreign key that doesn't match the aircraft primary key in the aircraft table, we'll get a result for that as null. And then we do a sort, and this query must continue to work in the future without modification. So I'm not sure what it means by that. There's some, I used to know what this means. I guess maybe it's just making sure you do the outer join right, because if you kind of, there's probably a way to kludge this where you do it like a static answer. I'm trying to think. I used to know why this was a point. That stipulation sounds more like a view kind of thing, but whatever. What the way you test this is part C. So you insert a new aircraft into the aircraft table. So insert into the aircraft table a new data for the AC number, the mod code, those cryptic things, and the values are listed there, right? So you would have a new aircraft number of 5289L. And to make sure this still works after you insert that, you would get nulls for those because it's a new aircraft. Obviously, the new thing that you just added to the aircraft table, this is what I said in my first example, right? You got a new aircraft, you never chartered it. This is that example. You add it to the table. Hey, we bought a new aircraft. It's in the hangar. We never chartered it yet. And if you wanted to list all the aircraft, whether they've been chartered or not, but also you wanted to list all the charter data for the things that had been chartered, that's when you would use an outer join. So before you add this and after you add it, it should still work correctly. The only difference is that in the second time you run them, both queries, you would actually get a result with null for this new aircraft. So let me set this up and then we'll discuss it. All right, I was distracted again. It's an hour and 20 minutes, so it's going to happen. But see where I was. So we want every aircraft listed. This is the left side. And that aircraft might not have been chartered. So some of them are going to be chartered. So we wanted the ones where they're equal, where this thing was chartered over. This is the charter table, right? I'm using C because we don't have a customer table now. Might be less confusing if I use CH, but so this aircraft may or may not have been chartered. So the may or may not have side needs the plus. That's how that works. In my mind, it should be the other way around. I don't know. I don't know how you decide which one's which, but anyway. And every aircraft should have a model. So this is one of the examples where I'm saying before, I'm like, you can mix them and match them. You don't have to do an outer join here but you do need to do a join. So in other words, how do we find out the models for all the aircraft? That's where you look again at, where is it? PNG photos. Right. So every aircraft has a mod code. This should never be null. So we don't need an outer join here. So how do they relate? They relate through a mod code. So you just relate them that way. So where the aircraft mod code is equal to the model mod code. That'll get everything joined up, and then we just have to add in the other criteria it's asking for, and then do that part C. So these are all aircraft that are in the database, whether they were chartered or not. I have to check on that, see if it's giving me the right answers. Yeah, there should be some cases where the charter trip doesn't have a match. And I don't see it right off, but it should be here somewhere. Let me run this again. So let's look for charter trip column. Did I leave it out? Well, I actually have too many columns is what's going on here. So let's constrict the columns and then check the answers to be sure. So I'm going to pause this while I do that. Now, you know what? I'm not, because I just want to show you how we go about this. So we need these things added, which, well, let's see, we need aircraft number. So this is kind of aircraft centric, right? Because we want to list all the aircraft, whether or not they were on charters, but we want to list the charter information and some of the specifics about the aircraft. If we do have that data. So we're going to do the aircraft number, the model code of the aircraft. And that could have been taken from the model table or the aircraft table. It doesn't matter which one. Then we want the model manufacturer. To me, it makes more sense to do it from the aircraft table in this particular context, but whatever. The manufacturer, that's only in the model table. So you have to go to the model table for that. And then the TTE, all that stuff, that's all in the aircraft table. So that T-tail. But if I wanted to waste your time and my time, I would go ahead and look those up on Google and see what they are, explain it, and I will not do that. That's something for you to look up if you're interested. The trip identifier, again, that's going to be the trip from the charter table. The charter date, that's for also, let's do this way. I want to do all the aircraft stuff at the top, whether it's model or not, but then I'm going to do the trip stuff down here, to make it a little easier to read. So the charter trip identifier, the primary key, in other words, the date that the charter happened, the date, the destination. So where did you fly to? And the distance that you flew on that trip. All right, so that's what we want. And then we're going to add some stuff to criteria to that. So what you should see, actually, I think here's the problem. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, I might be mistaken, but I don't think so. Let me run this again. All of these planes in the table have been chartered before. Every single. So that's why you don't see any nulls. So you see that? There's no trips that were taken here. This one, there's no trips that were taken. There's no gaps in the trip column. There would be gaps if this were accurate. So this is what we're going to figure out now. So just save that for now and test it by doing this. Let's insert, and you can just copy and paste this, I think. I want to do this one first too, by the way. Technically speaking, if you went in order, you would do the what do you call it, the 92 version next, and then you would do this last part. I'm going to trust. Do I want to do that? Actually, no, I'll save this. I'll wait on this. So for now, technically speaking, you should have a semicolon on the end here. I don't know if this is right or not yet. So what I'm going to do is save that there. I'm going to comment this out. And then I'm going to redo this as the new version. So as we always been saying, this top part can be this. I'm just going to select star for now, though. I could get into trouble trying to make it happen if I put all this stuff up there now. I can use the same aliases though. So aircraft, and you can just kind of once you get a hang of this, you can see that where part is aircraft A, inner. No, left outer join. Just look for the plus sign. Outer join, and then we're going to outer join on the charter, I think. Charter C on what? A.AC number is equal to, having trouble typing sideways. This thing in front of my face is part of the problem. I'm trying to make sure you hear my voice at all times. So I'll put it right in my face, and that means I can't see the keyboard. So I touch type for the most part, but I'm kind of sideways too. So, there we go. Where those two things are equal. That's the inner join, the outer join part, but then we want to inner join. I'm mixing my case here, but whatever. The aircraft's model number, inner joined A dot, why is this not working? Hold on. I don't understand people who just sit in the car or whatever when they get home. So these dogs are waiting for the person to come in. And until that person comes in, they're going to be waiting, maybe whining a little bit. And then when they come in, they're going to be crazy for a minute. And then, like, it interrupts my whole day. Also, never mind, went the other way. So, all right, so here is the equivalent. So there's the outer join stuff up here, and you look down, it's left outer joins. It's just the same order. Still distracted. It's a long video, and I was getting that part of it. So this part where I got stuck before was like I was trying to do, I was doing inner join. I forgot to do inner join table. You got to put it's always inner join, outer join, the table name, and then the on and how they're related. I was trying to do this part first before I did this part, but anyway. So, but what I did, I've got both of these in the same window, and if you do a script query on it, what you'll notice is you should get the same output one after the other. It just does it twice. It does the same thing twice, but it does it two different ways. So if you look at these two sets of results, they look the same. I didn't go through and meticulously compare them, but like they look just they hit the eyeball the same way. So I think these are the same results. So this is the two versions. Again, this is A and B. For 4, I'm gonna do 5 and 6. I feel like those will be shorter, maybe because they're more specific. They're weirder, but more specific. Anyway, the next thing we got to do is that last part. And that's to insert a new, this is DML, data manipulation language. We're adding a new record to the aircraft table. So, and I wouldn't say this because you'd have to delete it in between to compare them. Now that I've got both of them done and they look like they're doing the same thing, we just want to run this. So I'm going to highlight it, copy it, I paste it, I run it. It says one row inserted. And now when I'll just comment it out for now. I can run the whole script and see if I still get the same results for both, which should be every aircraft, including the one I just added, should appear in the results, except you'll have a null for the trip, which is what this is. If you do it the old fashioned, I think if you have two sets in here, it might not work. If you do the play button, because you've got two queries, so do the script anyway. So that's the null result there. That's the null result there. The whole point is that you added the Beechcraft, I think. Oh, that's the model. Beechcraft is the model manufacturer. But it's this new. It's the 5289L. That's the primary key. So it's that last one we added, and it's got a null result. The whole point was to show you that the when you change the actual tables, you still the query still works. So this is A and B. You would add these over here to your growing script. So this is -- parentheses 4A, and then -- parentheses 4B would be the other one. And the answers probably say to like run it one time, so you would copy that first run and then the second. If you just do it after the insert, I'm okay with it. It's I think if you follow directions exactly, you would show both runnings. But and then what's the last? I've got this delete. I don't think it actually tells you to delete it, does it? Sort display, blah, blah, blah. Some people, I think I might have told them in the previous class, I see it in the answer here where people delete that one. You can delete it if you want, the one you just added, but it looks like it's not required. Maybe it is later. Maybe that's why I'm confused on this. After that insert, by the way, you should commit as well to make sure they stick. What I mean is, after you do that insert, you got to commit. So the next time you hook up to the database, it'll still be there. All right. Need to be in this window, actually. Regardless, you get the idea. Okay. Next step, We're on 5. I'll pause it. All right. Display a list of crew members for each charter flight that we operated on February 7th, 2013. The results should include the charter date. So the stuff, right? I'm just telling you what. So this is different in this way. It's just that it's for a certain date. So we're adding that where clause at the very end for just one particular date. And it's also different because we're like throwing the crew in, which we haven't had the crew yet. But it should only be for the 7th of February 2013. So we need the employee's name, and the first name and last name, and we need the job that they're doing on the charter, and the distance that they flew on that. So again, it's going to be the results. Charter date, so charter table, aircraft number, probably charter table, destination charter table, distance charter table, aviation employee name. There's a clue in here. The person who wrote, I didn't write these, by the way, so the person who wrote this is giving you a hint that it's aviation employee table, I guess. But the employee, you could just say employee name. But the point is, the crew, there's no like crew table. The crew are employees, so you need that from the employee table. And then the crew job, you have to figure out where the crew job is. I don't even know right now. So let's look and see where crew job is. Crew job, where would that be? It's in the crew table. So obviously, I mean, you're going to have to relate this table to this table through this table anyway. So it would have been involved anyway, but now this makes it explicit. You know for sure you need that table because it's got crew job, but you needed it anyway. Because again, what is this? This is a associative entity. This is a junction table, bridge table, whatever you want to call it. It's a many-to-many relationship because each employee can be on many flights, and each flight can have many employees on it. You don't just have one flight attendant who also pilots the plane, right? She comes back. And I said he comes back. The flight attendant comes back and tells, well, now the pilot has to be a male. So let's do she anyway. So she comes back, tells you how to put your seatbelt on. Then she goes up and flies. She also did the maintenance before. I don't think this includes maintenance though, but you get the idea. There's more than one employee on each flight. And then that employee obviously doesn't fly once and retire. So that's the many-to-many relationship. That's why you need the crew table in between. It's a good name too, right? Who are the employees who were on a certain flight? That's the crew for that flight. Great name. Instead of charter_employee. That's more boring. I'm at that point in the video where I'm getting some energy back. So we'll see how this goes. Maybe it's because the ending is in sight. I don't know. Make sure you save these before So again, look at my script. This is what you should have so far. You should also have the top, your name somewhere. There might be more that were specified in the lab. I don't remember quite rightly. Again, this is all supposed to have been done in Word actually, but you should have at least stuff like that. So we're building a script. Don't worry about the commit here. So the next thing will be 5A and 5B. You might want to go ahead and put these in here because you're going to paste them in later for this particular one when we have a A and B part. What about 6? What is 6? I think 6 is just one answer, isn't it? Let's look ahead real quick. Add a new rating. Be sure to check your work. So, and then okay. So it's 2 parts, but it's really one question, kind of. It's not 2 parts of A and B sense. It's not the 2 different varieties of SQL. It's just 2 parts to one answer. So I'm just going to do this 6. All right. So let's go to our work window again. This is where we're doing our work, and again, let's review. I'm already way off from what the actual question is. So it's display a list of crew members for each charter flight that we on a particular date. So forget about the particular date. Forget about the projection part, which is the result should include. Just get the query down first, the join down first. Remember again what tables were involved. That's what you need to work on for all these. You should work on that first and then refine it to what day and what columns do you want? Do that part last. That's why I always use a star to get started. So we know we need the charter. We need to know the employees. And is that it? Let me look at my cheat sheet. I think I got something to help me here on this. I'm already tired of thinking about it, honestly. So, do we need ratings too? Where am I at? This is not right. That's the last one. Okay. So we need the employee table. We need the charter table. And we need the crew table because it joins those two. I think that's all we need. All right. Yeah, that's it. So those three tables. So we need this table, and this table. We need these. Basically, we need these two tables and this one because it joins these two. Because it joins these two, but it also has a little bit of extra information in it. This data right here, the crew job. You would have to have it for that regardless of the fact that it joins the two. But the fact that it joins the two means it needs to be included even if you didn't have the crew job requirement. So let's start writing this query. Select star from, and this is old-fashioned style, right? So it's going to be charter, not chather. Charter. Now we got crew, charter, and employee. 2 C's and an E. I'm going to do charter CH, crew. I'll put it in the middle here. Crew CR, and then Avia employee, aviation employee E. All right, so that's the three tables involved. Old-fashioned again. We're doing this old style. So where, and this is just where you just have to like restate what's already been done for you, which is how these relate to each other. You just kind of have to hook them up that way. So we want to do it where the primary key of the charter, which is the trip, is equal to the same thing but as a foreign key in the crew table. So where the crew trip is the same, and we want to do where the crew, and it's the other thing, it's the employee number, is equal to the employee number in the employee table. I think that's it, right? Because we only have 3 tables, so that means two slats between fence posts, 3 fence, 1 post, 2 posts, 3 posts, slats in between. These are the slats. So you would only have one, and because it's the slat in between these 2 fence posts. I don't know if that helps you at all. It's just the way I'm expressing it. It makes sense in my brain right now. So this is only for a certain date. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and add that in because might as well. And the date is equal to a certain date. And that's going to be from the charter table. So for the charter, char date is equal to, and what this really also gives you, and I'll put this on its own line because it's not part of the join, right? Even though it's part of the where clause, to me, it's an extra criterion at the very end. That's really not there just because you're joining. Again, it's a certain thing that you want to know. You have to put the right format in, and this is something to look up every time. I actually have the answer here, so I know what the answer is, but I think this is fairly typical for dates and these kinds of databases and stuff. Day first, date, the day of the month, numerically first, then a dash, and then I think it's always a 3-character abbreviation for the month. So Jan, Feb, Av, May, Jun, Jul, Og, Sep, Nov, Oct, Dec, right? That's the abbreviations, and then a 2-digit year. Alternatively, I think it probably would also accept a 4-digit year, but I'm not going to try it. That's an issue, actually. We'll talk about later on whether you're doing, because are you talking about 1913 or 2013? Especially if you put in like something closer. I'm trying to think. Actually, that's probably about the perfect thing because it could be 2013, or sometimes it is ambiguous. That's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the specific context where it would be ambiguous. It would be you're talking about historical things. So 13 would be, if you're talking about things that could have happened in history, 2013 is already pretty much in history for us, right? But 1913 is also in history, more so, but you can see how the same set of data might overlap a century, right? So anyway, so we only want results from those certain dates, and then let's go back and do the easy part, which is to just add the things that it's asking for. And it'd be much better if I could do this side by side, but I mean, I can. I just hate messing things up. You know, having you watch me do this is probably annoying for you, but okay, so list the crew now. So this is number 5 on a certain date. I'm trusting that that date will work because I haven't run it yet, right? But, and then we want to look at the display list of crew numbers, the results. Okay, charter date. So, okay. So ch dot date. Now, if you're doing them all for the same date, why are you including the date? Just to make sure you really are getting that date. To me, that's redundant. You shouldn't put the date here, but because it's going to be February 7th, 2013 every time. So why repeat it? But it's not wrong. It's just kind of annoying. So, the results charter date, aircraft number. So that's all. That's also in the charter. Just because it's the number. Now, if we wanted more information about the aircraft, we would have to bring in the aircraft table. But because we only need that foreign key value, we don't have to put anything else from the aircraft table. So don't worry about it. We need the aircraft number, the destination, comma, ch dot distance. I know some people are like, why can't you do this faster? Because I'm talking to you at the same time. Chewing gum would also slow me down. Employee name. So again, this is the reason why you have the employee table linked in, because we need this stuff, right? And notice I haven't used the concatenation or anything to make this pretty. It wasn't really asked for in this lab, and if you didn't do it, that's fine. If you wanted to make it pretty, that's up to you. And the crew job of that employee on that particular charter. So I think that's everything. Let's run it, see if it looks right. So yeah, on February 17th, 13th, February 7th, 2013, which was charter number 148, trip number 4. No, that's the aircraft, isn't it? So on aircraft 1484P, which is BNA. I don't know what. Oh, that's the aircraft. Is that the? That's the destination. Okay, so Knoxville is this one. I'm trying to remember if this is from the actual book. Do they have Knoxville in here? I guess. Anyway. This is so this crew member, Rhonda Lewis, was on this. She traveled 352, and then again, this is redundant. And you'll see later we can make the results not show redundant stuff like this. If it's the same for both, you can group it. But anyway, 352-mile trip she took as the pilot, and then the co-pilot was John Lang. So you get the idea. That's just for February 7th. If we leave that out, if we leave that last criterion out, then you'll get like the data for all the charters, right? And this is just showing the last part. So there's a bunch. All right, so Control Z, get that back. That's part A. And then part B, I'm going to go ahead and do it this way again. So I'm going to do it live. We'll do it O'Reilly style. So if I were doing both of these, now I would normally have done this just as the inner join to begin with anyway. So I don't usually do this, but this is the this is the routine I've gotten in where I have to do both. So charter, CH, inner join. There's no outer joining in this one, thankfully. So inner join the crew, which we call CR, on the fact that the primary key of the, it's not the primary, it's the primary key. Wait, crew. The primary key is the trip, is equal to the foreign key, that's the trip. Equal sign. So there we go. Inner join Don't forget the table. Don't try to do the equals stuff yet. Do the table first. A via employee, which I'll call E, on the fact that the employee, and I could have done it the other way around. To me, just because I just typed the employee, it makes me think of the employee table. But where the employee num is equal to the employee num as a foreign key in the crew table. Again, that's that join table. Usually it's better to put these on like different lines. You'll develop your own style. It's probably good if you can line up the inner joins, maybe. You know, it's up to you. Now, because that's the join work, right? The last part you can just copy and paste. So where this is a fact, where this, right? And then this part is also, as long as you use the same aliases, this part is copy and pasteable. So it's only the join part that's different among these different queries. It's the only part that's necessarily different. Run this, see if you get the same results. Nope, you didn't, because I messed something up. So let me pause and fix it. Looks like it was a simple typo with a backslash there, but I don't know that for sure because I haven't tested it. But yeah, that's what it was. Okay. Your teachers are human beings too. Don't ever forget that. All right. So I'm running them both as a script to see that they get the same answers for both. There you go. That's how you do those two. That was pretty straightforward, I think. This is the new style for B, and now we're on 6. And I specifically had somebody ask me how to do 6, and that's kind of why I'm doing the video. I started grading actually, and this is future stuff. This is 2021 spring. I started grading, and I was like, the rubric, I feel like I'm gonna have to count off too many points on these. I don't want to count off too many points. This may be different in the future if we had different expectations, because you'd have different preparation. I mean, the people I graded so far did fairly well actually, but there were specific things that weren't complete. So yeah, I wanted to just like do an explanation for everybody. So we're gonna do 6, and then we're done, and I'm gonna go eat because I'm starving. So 6, add a new rating. So we're adding a new record to the rating table. So this one's fairly straightforward to get started. So they give us the rating right here. So we're going to insert this rating. Similar to the following. Be sure checking it. Okay, so we're inserting the rating value. Okay, so the reason why, let me show you what this is. It's kind of confusing. It was confusing me at first. Let me go to my work. This is my scratch area. Select everything and delete it. So if you just type this, the reason why this works is, first let's look at the rating table. So that's in my clipboard. Save that for later. Select everything in rating and look at what we got. So here's our ratings. So you see how you have rating code and a rating name. Is that everything that we had in the insert? I'll have to look and see. I mean, another way of looking at this is a lot more straightforward than I'm implying it is by. It's the end of the video, so I can't think straight. Yeah, here we go. So we got 1 column, 2 column. Is that right? I'm looking at the right thing. Hold on. Open this up. Yeah, it only has 2 things. So it's only got 2 columns. Table. Trying to remember. I don't remember what to look at here, but you can just double click on this and it shows you what it looks like. So it's got 2 things in it. It's got a rating code and it's got a rating name, and you can see what those things are. The rating code should be the primary key. That's why it's not nullable. Let me see if I can find this. If you click on these different tabs, you get different views of this. This is the way that it looks like to edit it. I got this far, and now I'm like, oh, like, this is not going where I want it to go. Okay, that was the model. That's the actual data. This is what we got. So we got these two columns, basically, is what I'm saying. The long and short, what I'm trying to get at is if we look at this, insert into, yeah, for some reason I thought there were three things here. I was confused. That's why I was mainly confused right there. Okay, so notice how it has two values. When you have two values, like when you have in the value side of an insert all the possible, a value for each possible column, you don't need to specify the columns. So if you remember the previous insert that we used, see how you list the columns in parentheses and then you have the values. You might not even needed to do this part. It depends on whether you have any nulls in here that you leave out. If you have any things you might skip in the values, then you need to list them all. So all the column names, so you know what matches with what. This might have been redundant in this case because if I remember correctly, the values, we have something for everything in this one because we have the AC number as the primary key and then the mod code and like, so all these line up and you can leave that out. I think double check it. I'm not going to look now because I don't want to waste any more time, but you can verify that. Look at how this table's constructed aircraft and see if any of these things, if it has a value here for every possible column, then you don't need to specify the columns. It's just the variant way of doing insert. It's a quicker way to do it, to do the insert is to leave out the list of columns because it's implied by the order of the values. Just got to make sure that the right data types and, you know, not too big or whatever. The domains match, everything matches for the actual data in the columns. Then you don't need to specify the column names first. I hope that's clear. It's a long roundabout way of explaining that. So I'm going to run this and it should insert a row and then make sure you commit. If you wanted, you could have done this all as one thing like this, except the semicolon there. Make sure if you do both like that, make sure you have semicolons for each so it can separate them. Now it's giving me an error, which is good. This is entity integrity, I think it's the term for it. It's telling me that I can't insert this again with this code because this is the primary key. And that's a good thing that it showed me that. But then it committed any changes that were pending that I haven't made yet. All right, that's the first part, is just adding that to it. So, and if you make any errors, roll back. I didn't make any errors though. Yay me. Using the SQL syntax of your choice, write a single query to display a list of all employees who work for Cloud Aviation. So first, all employees. Every single one. So regardless of what the rest of it says, this sounds like we might need an outer join because we don't want to leave any employees out. Just because they're not participating in some of the other tables is not a reason to leave them out. So that sounds like a left outer join. I'll say this too, even if you don't, you could always use a left outer join, even if an inner join would work. So, you know, in some ways, you know, it's kind of like a safety. If the employee is a pilot, the rating codes for the pilot must, so that's left outer join in there because not every employee is a pilot. So pilot rating codes will be left out for some, so you need a left outer join. In addition, all possible ratings must be listed, even if no employee has yet achieved that rating. Okay, so this is the other way around. So you might have employees who don't have ratings. Make sure you list them, and then you might have ratings that don't have employees. Make sure you list those ratings. That's a full outer join. That's what we're getting at. And if SQL hope respects the syntax called full outer join, that's what we'll use. That's what I've decided. I'm going to use a full outer join. The intent of this question is to make you realize there's something that you need besides just left and right. You need an actual join both ways, which is a full outer join. That's the terminology for it, whether I can't remember if SQL has full outer joins or not in that using that syntax. But we'll see. So include, and then these are just the things that you need to include: employee name, hire date, blah, 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 blah. And other stuff you might want. Yeah, and if you do the age, you have to derive the age, which is a pain in the butt. We'll see how to do that. So let's just start on this full outer join. So again, what is involved here? We need ratings. Let me look back. We need all the so we need pilots. I mean, we need ratings. We need pilots. If the employee is a pilot rating code, in addition, all possible ratings must be listed. Really, all we don't need the pilot table, cause age, rating code, rating name, and day. I don't think the pilot table. I don't think any of these things are from the pilot table. So we really just need the rating table and then the bridge table in between those two. So just to review, look at our way this is set up, way this is connected. What I'm saying is we don't need. I don't think it asks for any of this stuff. The license rate and we're leaving this one out because again, that's going back to the beginning of the video. I hate that thing anyway. It's a multi-valued attribute. It doesn't seem to ask for any of this stuff, I don't think. I don't know what med date is, but I don't think that's the hire date, which is probably in the employee table. So we really only need these three tables up at the top. We need the ratings, and we added one, right? A new rating. And the reason why why did we add that? Because probably all the pilots that have ratings have all the ratings. All the ratings are covered. We just added one. Obviously, we just added it. So obviously, none of the employees are going to have that rating because we just added it. How are they going to have it if we didn't go through and add it for them, right? So that's why we're by adding that new rating, we set up the scenario where we could test out the full outer join. So we need these three tables. So let's just get them set up. And again, because it's full outer join, this is actually easier in some ways, as long as the syntax works. Let's see if it does. And I'm not doing the plus sign thing because I don't even want to guess how that's done. You probably just put pluses on both sides. I don't know. But I'm doing 92 style because it said we could pick. And I'm going to do 92 style. You guys can figure out 86 style if you want. So it's employees, right? So from A via employee, which is E. And because you have to go through that earned rating both ways, you would have to do the full outer join. It might just be join. I'm not sure. We'll see if the syntax works. Full outer join, earned rating. So annoying. Let me tab that on e.empnum is equal to er.empnum. Now, see, if you didn't use outer join at all, what you would only get is pilots. But this way, we'll get employees who are not pilots as well. That's why we do an outer join, whether it's left or full. If we didn't have the rating question, we would have just done. Left outer join, but we're doing full outer join here. And we need to do full outer join, continue this. It's possible, I'm not sure, I'd have to check on this. It might be possible to do also a, just thinking out, I might be able to do right and left separately here. I have to think about that one, but I'm pretty sure this will work if we try it. So this is going to be er.rating code is equal to the primary key on the other one. Sorry, I did this wrong. On rating R. That's what I left out. Equals R dot rating code. Let's see if this even works first. Okay, it works. Good. That's a relief. So I think this is going to work for us because I can already see some of the results. But let's just put in what they asked for. I'm just going to pull it all up in a separate screen. I'm not trying to do this side by side, so you don't have to watch me struggle to get the right format layout for it. So what do we want? We want, where's my mouse pointer? There it is. In addition, all must be listed. Okay, so we want if the include employee name. See if I can keep track of where this is. Employee name. It says just employee name. It doesn't say first name, last name. I'm going to do first name and then last name. So it didn't tell me which one. I mean, you could do this too if you wanted. All right. Let's just get a little fancy with this one. So include the employee name, the hire date. That's from the employee table as well. E dot hire date. Yep, hire date. And I'm not gonna make the date pretty. If you wanted the stuff that you learned this coming week that you haven't turned this one in yet, right? This is last week. Now you should have. Where are we at? You're about to turn in one where you do date functions and stuff, and to chart and to date and all that crap. You haven't learned that yet, so we're just doing an ugly default data value for the date. The age, now the age has to be derived, so I'm going to leave it out for now. And instead, I'm going to put E dot date of birth probably. Yeah, DOB. I'll put that in as a stand-in, and then we'll come back and fix it. And the date, I have to look. It's always annoying, but I've got the answer somewhere, so I'll show it to you. Oh, dang it. I'm trying to remember where that is, actually. The rating code, I got that from the rating table because it's the rating code. So I'm going to go to the next line on this stuff. And you got to watch the periods and commas on these all the time. That's the one thing that always gets me. I'm like, why is there or there? Oh, it's because I put a period. Rating name, so that's going to be from the rating table. Again, the date the rating was earned, that's going to be the earned rating date. So it's the ER table, the earned rating table. Minimum, you may include other fields. I don't care about other fields. I don't think they're helpful. So let's see if we get answers here. We don't, because I messed something up. Valid F name. Here we go. Not F name, but F name. There we go. So here's how you can tell it's a full outer join. I hope. So we got every employee. Some of these employees should not have. Here we go. These are the employees originally. Remember them? One from the previous query. There's 6 of them, I think. There's 3. There's 3 more. So 6 of the employees are not pilots. So they don't have any of these ratings. They're included, but they just have no info here. There's null values, right? They don't have a value for those things. Just not pertaining to them because they're not pilots. But you do have all the ratings for the ones who are pilots. And again, some of these pilots they'll appear many times because they have many ratings. So that's okay. It's just you want to make sure that all these people who are not pilots appear only once with nothing. Then you'll see there's a rating, the MES multi-engine C that we just added, who doesn't have any employee at all over here that has that rating. Why? Because we just added it. How are they going to have it? You have to go in and say, okay, give this employee that rating in the earned rating table, right? You have to add an entry, employee name and the rating code you would have to add, oh, it doesn't have their M code here. You have to add 109 got MES in the earned rating table. We did not do that. We didn't do that insert. So there's not going to be any values over here. This is not an error at all. It's just showing you that what a full outer join does. It shows you nulls on both sides. So employees who don't have ratings and then ratings who don't have employees. Both directions. That's a full outer join. Now the last thing, reason I don't know if the full outer join is the reason why I was asked to explain this or if it's the age. So I don't know. So what you want to do is you want to get the current time somehow and subtract the date of birth from it and then format it to look like a year. So round it up maybe to a year. Probably you'd have to round. You'd take the floor, right? You don't round up. You always take the floor of the age. So if tomorrow's your birthday, you're still X age and you're not that one. You will be tomorrow. So here, that's what I'm trying to get at is like how we solve this problem. Do some math to find out the number of years between today's date and the date of birth. Then take the floor of that mathematically. So go down to the next lowest integer. So if you get an answer like 49.999, then the answer is 49. You take the floor. I'm going to pause while I look this up. It's over 2 hours. This might be the longest video I ever made. I didn't expect that on this one, but we had to do the whole assignment because I want to give you feedback on every answer. So just this last part, we're done and I can go eat. It's 7. Jeez, it's late. I wanted this to be done earlier. I started grading at like 2. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do a video on this. So that's 2 hours right there. I don't know what happened to the 3 hours, but maybe in the pauses. Anyway, I'm wasting more time. I'll look this up and give it to you. All right, I looked up. I think this will work. Now I'm thinking maybe Flora would be what I would want. Anyway, I'll check, but this seemed to work. So it's truncating. So what does truncating do? Truncating takes off fractional parts. So it's equivalent to a floor. So what you do is you take the sys date. You don't need dual because you're not only doing the date. You're doing the date as part of another query with other tables and stuff. So it's just a built-in value that it's sys date. If you subtract the date of birth from that, it looks like it gives you an answer in days, and then you divide that by 365, and that gives you years. And 365 might give you, a certain number of years and change, and the trunc gets rid of the and change. And then, of course, you want to name that column something like age. Let's take the 365 out, and there we go. Now I've got redundant parentheses. I hope that doesn't mess anything up. See what we get. Yeah, I mean, that looks days. I know there's a Einsturzende. I always say this wrong. Neubauten's easy, but Einsturzende Neubauten. Falling down new buildings is an real industrial. Like, they actually use tools and stuff. They're pioneers in industrial music. German band. It's one of their later albums that has more synthesizer stuff in it, though. But what's the name of that song? I think it's called 12.309. No, now I'm like using more foreign language. Fünfte. Yeah, okay. 12.305 Nacht is the name of it. It says 12,305th night. It's a guy singing about his 12,305th day on Earth, I guess. Das ist meine 12.305. Nacht. Die ersten paar tausend, du kannst es vergessen. I can't remember how it goes, but anyway. So what I'm trying to say is these numbers seem reasonable for ages. Right, that many thousands of days is, I think it's early 30s, mid 30s is 12,000. So these people were like older, but it's not unreasonable. So these look like days, is what I'm trying to say. So if you divide them by 365, now here's the thing: this might not be accurate. You might need to divide this by 365 and maybe more of a quarter. Look up the time, because again, there's not 365 exact days in a year. It's a little bit over that many days in a year. So I think this might be technically a little off. There's probably a better way to do this, but this is good enough. The important thing is that you know that it's a derived attribute. It's not, you can't just, you could put the date of birth and they can figure it out, right? But the point is, you don't put the age in. You don't have an age column in your table because it's something that needs to be derived. Because otherwise, you'd have to update it on their birthday every year, and that would be really annoying. So why not just put their date of birth in and then mathematically figure out how old they are? Even though it seems like it's really complicated right now. How many days in a year? Leap. I'm gonna put leap year in here because it's gonna tell me 365, right? Normally, so let's see. Wikipedia. I can't even talk English now. I think that German messed me up. Wikipedia usually has a good data. In this case, though, I'm going to pause. Hold on. This is what I need to do. That's the Windows key. All right, this is a figure I found somewhere. Scientifically speaking, the Earth takes about 365 and 2,422 10 thousandths, so 2/10, 400, 24 hundredths, 242,000. Yeah, so 2,422 10 thousandths of a day. Roughly, you could probably put 2.25 and be fairly accurate. But anyway, you see the answer here. These are the ages. Look this up on your own. This is a solution that I have. This might not be the best. Just Google calculate date from date age from date of birth Oracle, and I could have probably done that and showed you something better than what I've got here. But this works. And again, I'm not even that concerned that these are exactly the right ages. What I do want you to realize is that it's better to put in the age, even though this might not be exact. There's a way to find this out exactly, I'm sure. Databases do this all the time. This is one way that's fairly accurate. The point is, if you had to put the age in, if you had an age column in the employee table, then you would have to forever be keeping track of birthdays to change up. You have to update employee, set age equals age plus 1, where employee equals whoever's. Where are you going to find the birthday? Too, it should be in the table, right? You could have date of birth and age, I guess, and then whatever. I think you get the idea. So this would be the answer to number 6. I think that's it. Is there any more else to it? I don't want to leave anything else. You may include other hint if you have a calculated field. Determine even if the current data in the tables changes, do not write queries that work on minimal data. So that last part is just to say you need to make sure your queries actually are queries and not like hard coded somehow or something. Here's the answer. In the end, you would do something like this and take this output right here, and yeah, I think you can print it, save it as a file. You could just control A and paste it into a text document, paste it into the Windows. Well, I said Windows, Word document. Just to be sure, you might want to erase this first and then run it as a script so you don't have too much stuff in. But if you do this correctly, you should get this. It looks like I got an error somewhere. Might want to check that. One thing you might want to check is that all of your queries have semicolons at the end before you run it as one big script. Most of the time you can get away with it in Oracle if you're doing an interactive kind of thing, but if you want to run it as a script, you got to make sure that you put the semicolons at the end. When I mean by run it as a script, I mean running it with a bunch of other queries in one script. Then you need a way to separate them, just like you need to be able to separate sentences from each other in English with periods. So looks like I fixed it by doing that. Yeah, looks correct now. The only problem with this is it doesn't have the this is where you do the echo on. I think that's what the problem is, right? You need to have the echo on too. I'm telling you how to do all this stuff, but you probably know how to do it better than I do, because I've already set echo on. Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah, that's what you need to do, because then that will put in the comments as well. So this is what I need you to do. What I've got here for most of the rest of them, especially. You can sort of ignore the Word document for this week, and the rest should look like this. This is it. What I'm going to do is pause this, which stops it, and then I'm going to say done, and then it's going to process it as a file. They're going to upload the file to YouTube, and then it's going to process it there. I'm going to share it there. From there, make an announcement. I'm going to finish grading. You might get the grades back before you see this, so I'll just say, hey, look at the video I made. It's over 2 hours. It's 2 hours and 15 plus minutes that shows you how to do this. So until next time.